Hey gang, Carl White here, broadcasting in the studios today, here in the secret headquarters of the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And you are listening to Loan Officer Freedom, #1 podcast in the world today. And all because you knew that someday we would snag Russell Fernandes as our guest. And that's exactly what we've done. So we got with your agent, we wrote the appropriate check to make it happen. Russell, great to see you here, buddy. How you doing, man?
Doing well, doing well. The honor to be on the show.
Yeah. So, you were kind enough to share. You listened to the show for the last 5 years, and now, brother, you have earned your spot to be on here. And Russell, you have indeed earned your spot. So kudos to you, my man. First of all, just a small introduction. You're listening to the right episode. If you want to hear how Russell, I think, would you say in March you closed 15 units, and this month you're closing like 12 or something like that?
Right.
Good solid numbers, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and we're going to just kind of unpack that and see how do you make it happen. So, before we get into that, give us a little layout of the land. Like, where you located at? Broker, banker, branch manager, loan officer. Give us a little background.
So I'm a mortgage banker. I work at a bank over here in the Southeast. I live in North Augusta, South Carolina. One exit down is another state. It's Augusta, Georgia, where they play the Masters. So that's where I'm located, and I work at a bank. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So when you do these, so are you so at the bank? So this 12 and 15 units, 15 one month, 12 the next. Are these like your loans, or is it a team of loan officers that you're kind of a manager of, or is that your own personal production?
This is just me. This is all self-generated. We don't get any walk-up traffic over here. This is all using just the sales tactics and stuff I've learned on the podcast.
Well, outstanding, buddy. So wait. So it's using techniques you've learned on the podcast. Wait, which is free, right? So if you feel guilty and want to write a check, I would not be opposed to that. I would hate for you to go to sleep at night with a guilty conscience. So good for you, man. Good for you. So let's talk about this 12 and 15 units, man. That's pretty stout. And so you do it as self-generation. First of all, do y'all use a team approach? Like, do you have somebody that helps you chase some of the conditions, or do you do that part too? Like, what do you do versus any help?
I do, and I have always done every aspect of it. Now, the bank provides a setup person. They provide a processor, very fast underwriting. So I've been here 3 years. I came from a credit union where it was literally a nightmare every day. I was closing good volume there, but every week there was a bomb to put out or a fire to put out. And so a lot of my time was drained on that. Difficult to retain realtors when you always have surprises in your files. And regardless of how well I did up front, if you can't control the process, then that makes it difficult. So here, and as the podcast, as I listened to it over the years, the number one thing was hire an assistant, hire an LOA. I finally pulled the trigger and fought the good fight and got an LOA, provided the bank covered most of it in November. But what else happened in November? Rates were around 7%, and it really was buckle up time. Prior to that, I probably was working 4 or 5 hours a day maximum and producing a good, $1.5, $2 million a month. And it was time to roll my sleeves up. Now I'm responsible for somebody else. So it was waking up at 7 o'clock, doing the right personal routines. And then I got in the office and it was literally just busting out, 20 to 30 to 40 calls a day. And, I picked up a lot of those tricks on the podcast on what to say, who to call, time blocking on what day I'm going to do what, and just continually letting that evolve into what it's kind of come to today, which is I know exactly what I'm going to be doing from, 9 to 12 every day, phone calls and doing emails and giving stuff to my assistant to handle and take off my plate, letting her take off the tasks that keep me from selling.
Yeah. Outstanding. So wait, so do you have an assistant now? I'm just for clarification, did you still have your assistant?
Right. The assistant is part of what's allowed me to do this now in a buyer's market.
Yeah. Because brother, closing 12 to 15 loans a month without an assistant, I don't know if it'd be sustainable. You might could pull it off 1 month, but then you'd be so busy closing that business that the next month you wouldn't have been able to prospect and bring in more business. So,
Right.
good for you. Does your assistant work under your the same roof as you, or do they operate virtual, or do y'all work under the same roof?
Same roof.
Same roof. Yeah. Do you find that to be an advantage? Like, do you find that necessary?
So she does half part-time, half time part-time she's at home, the other part-time she's in the office.
Yeah.
In the office definitely is an advantage because I can train her for the next step. She can listen to me when I'm making my calls, and it's I think I could make it work either way, but it's much more of an advantage having her down the hall.
I would agree with that. I just in my own results and talking to other of my friends that are in other industry, not just mortgage industry, but in other businesses. We're all kind of finding that out, that at first we thought the virtual thing was going to work out just great. And it does oftentimes. I just don't know if it replaces under the same roof. There's just that magic about, like you said, they're hearing you talk through the wall a little bit and hearing your mannerism and how you say things.
Right.
It's hard to replace that, on a virtual nature. So, all right, cool. So your team is Russell and one other person. By the way, so how many were you closing when you added your assistant onto your team? Was it when you were doing 12 to 15, or did you add it on a little earlier? When did that happen?
So last year was an awkward year. I think probably the third quarter I was doing a consistent probably 8 to 10 deals a month, and then when rates got really rough, and I didn't have the right verbiage to say, it was down to 3 and 4 deals a month as I hired her. So there's a lot of time to train her and build the processes a little bit better.
Yeah. So when you brought her on, you was at around 10ish, give or take.
About 3.
About 3. So you brought her on at 3.
Yeah.
So when she came on at 3, and then that freed you up so you could do your prospecting. And so you've gone from 3 to like 12 to 15 or so.
Right.
With the help. Gosh, that sounds like the biggest no-brainer ever, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my brain, the math was I need to be able to do 1 extra transaction a month to justify her.
Yeah. Well, you've done slightly better than that, I would say, going from 3 to even 12, or 12 to 15. I mean, that's a remarkable difference. That's more than I would have thought, to be honest with you. That's a I usually find, like, when somebody adds that help, as long as they don't become their assistant. In other words, as long as when the assistant is there, they do the paper chasing while the loan officer does the prospecting. As long as they do that, I find an increase of about 5 loans a month, maybe 6, maybe 7, something like that is kind of the norm. So it sounds like you've kind of beat, the norm. When with an assistant, like, when do you look for the next one? Like, how many units do you think an assistant can handle the way y'all do things?
I think if we were to start getting into the 2025 range, I would have to have some more help, whether it be someone to just completely take care of the files while I prospect, or train her up to do more of the giving quotes and more of the stuff I'm doing.
How does it work? Does like, if I call the number on the front of your business card, do you answer it, or does she answer it? Like, how does that work?
Right now, you get me. I like to build that value in the relationship up front. And then I try to push them to do a phone application where I kick it to her to do the application, or I'll email it. Having her do the application, collect the documents, and just get the file approved eligible to send to me is taking a lot of weight off my shoulders, and we can deliver a 24-hour pre-qual.
What happens? You got a deal in process, and one of the agents wants to know if the appraisal's been ordered, or if the appraisal's in, or whatever, and they call the number in the front of your business card. Does that go to you too? Does that go to you first also?
It's still going to come to me. We haven't built it yet to where it's going to take all of that off of me. But if I'm doing my Tuesdays right, they're not going to call me, because if I'm doing my Tuesdays like I did today, I'm calling them, say, hey, this is when the appraisal is going to happen. I'm calling buying and selling agent, and they know ahead of time. So it's putting the work in on Tuesdays is keeping a lot of phone calls off of me.
That's a great point. So in case somebody's new, explain what you mean by doing Tuesday's call. What do you mean by Tuesday's call?
So on Tuesdays, the Just Ask, where I call my entire pipeline. I call the buyer to make sure they're still excited about the deal, and I'll ask them for a referral. I call the buying agent to inform them, ask for a referral. I call the selling agent to inform them where the file is. And mainly the main two things I hit them with is this is where the file's at in the process. It's either it's been approved with conditions or it's complete clear to close. And the appraisal is due on this exact date. When I get it, I'll reach back out to you. So they know the two pieces of the puzzle, and that's their opportunity to ask me questions or me to fill them in on anything else.
So there's no need for them to call you on Wednesday because you just updated them on Tuesday. They don't
Right.
nothing really going to change in the 24-hour period typically. So
Right.
that's a great point. If you're getting all those inbound phone calls of people wanting to know what's going on, it's because we haven't made that outbound call on Tuesday and then ask for more business. You get them to refer to you on those Tuesdays when you call and update them and ask for more business. Have you gotten some new referrals or some, like, have you been able to get some of the listing agents to start referring to you using that?
Yes, some of them are sending me deals immediately. Some are taking a little bit of time to do it. But what I've struggled with is asking them properly when to ask, can I count on you to send me your next deal, and when to kind of wait and just add value. So I'm still working through that, when to add value, when to 100% ask for the close.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yes, I'm getting repeat business. And the next month after we close out, when I use your line, it's like, hey, I'd love to meet you at the closing table a second time this week or this month. And they like that one too.
Yeah. Nice. Good for you, man. I think, when do you ask? And I lean in for the kiss early in the game. I do. I just, I always figure I've already got to know. I can only move up from here. There's no more of a no than what I already, if they're already not referring to me, I kind of can't blow it because
right.
It's already not coming in, so it's like, it's almost like a no lose scenario. So, so going from 3 to 12 or 15, are all those extra referrals, are they getting more referrals from the people that was already referring to you, or is it getting new people referring to you, or a bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. So I'm still making those Tuesday calls, but I'm also making the Monday, the Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
And then on Thursday, I've kind of gone a little bit off the script, and I'm calling the client, the realtors I was already working with for the past few years, and just touching base with them. And so the one thing I'm kind of working through is I kind of did what you call swamp marketing in the beginning, where I just have like 70 people I can call, and they'll shoot me 1 or 2 deals here and there.
Yeah.
So amping them up to call every Monday and ask for a referral, I feel might turn some of them off. It might be my own internal fear. So I kind of I treat them a little bit differently for the Thursday calls.
So wait. So tell me that again. What's different?
So with the Thor's hammer, I'm using brand new agents that I haven't met or haven't get referrals from.
So brand new agents you haven't met, you're calling them on Mondays, but then on Thursday, you're connecting up with agents that you worked with in the past, but you might not have heard from them the last 6 months or 12 months, or maybe even 2 years. And you're reconnecting with them and asking them. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Right.
Interesting. How's that going?
So it's a mixed bag right now. The Thursday calls, just staying in front of them, adding value, letting them know I'm still here because it's been working pretty well. The Thor's hammer and all that, I'm still fresh at it. So I'm about 3 to 4 weeks into it. I'm getting the coffee appointments. Now I'm just a follow up, getting some referrals from there. And that, I think, like you guys were saying, that's a 6 to 10 week success. That's when we start to see the real successes and breakthroughs.
Yeah.
So every time I'm making those calls with that end in mind. And I think that's going to add to what I'm already doing. That's going to be the real kicker for my business, I believe.
So what do you think? Well, brother, going from 3 to 12 or 15 is a pretty decent kicker already. What's been the primary, what one set of phone calls has gotten more referrals than any other one thing? Or is it truly a mix of all 3 or 4 theme days?
I would say right now it's going to be the Tuesday calls, which is new. It's new to my business, is the Just Ask. And then the Thursday calls of the people I've been doing it with. That, as of now, that's what's really bringing volume in. And also calling there was kind of a lull there in the market where people were sidelining themselves. At one point, I had 40 pre-qualified buyers who just sidelined themselves. And so I just stayed in front of them. I treated them like they were shopping. I stayed in front of them and let them know what was happening in the market for this entire, second half of last year.
Yeah.
And when rates kind of dropped and the public perception changed a little bit, the rates were dropping, or this is the new reality, then they were teed up they were ready to go and go with me. So I was the only guy that stayed in front of them.
So on your biggest theme day to get you most referrals is Tuesday, the update calls. Is it typically are you getting most of the referrals from the borrower and the co-borrower, or most of it from the buying agent asking them, or is it the new to you anyway, the listing agent that's sending you referrals? Like which set of phone calls on Tuesday are you getting most of your referrals from?
Right now, it's the buying agent. The buying agent is they see they made a good choice. They see how happy the buyer is, and we're keeping them excited, or we're walking them through those anxieties that happen and that emotional roller coaster because we're keeping them happy with it. Yes. And it's teeing me up so easily for the coffee with the selling agent. When we get a week before closing, I'm like, hey, what are you going to do next week when I'm not calling you on Tuesday? Let's grab a coffee. And it opens them wide open for that. So I feel if we talk again in like 2 or 3 months, what I'm telling you, where my business is coming from, is going to evolve a little bit.
Yeah. Well, brother, again, it's not going bad. It's not going bad now. So how do you keep track of, like, do you have how do you keep track of like who you got a lot of, I don't say a lot of irons in the fire. It's like when you're working on 15 different transactions or 12 different transactions. I mean, if I'm closing 12 loans for the month, I probably got 20 that I'm working on, right? Because some are for the, the next month. How do you keep everything straight? Like, how do you keep from going crazy with all the different activity?
I stay organized, and there's always another 10 phone calls I could make. And every day I leave, I know I made a bunch of calls, but I always have that monkey on my back saying you could have done more. So part of that is staying meticulous. I've got a leads list, which people have not done the application yet or need to get me documents. We hit them every couple of days, or I get my assistant to do that. And I've got my shopping list. Those are who are shoppers. I'll hit them once every 2 weeks minimum. Then I've got my cold list. Someone who didn't have the down payment money, maybe I'll put tax time in there. So I know when tax time comes around to do a search for tax time and call those buyers and say, hey, it's tax time. Have you been saving your money? And get them back in the game. So it's really just having meticulous lists and just kind of trying to touch them at least once a week. And if I can't get to it, I'll get my assistant to start making those calls.
What exactly does your assistant, like, what do you do versus what your assistant does?
We're still in the infancy of that. I pretty much do everything right now, but what she's taken off my shoulders is she's doing the applications. She's about to take over my emails so I can get off of that. She's doing applications over the phone. She's collecting documents. We're about to get her to chase conditions as well. So we're still in the infancy of that part of what's going to shift over to her.
Was she already experienced? Like, was she doing working in the mortgage industry a year ago?
Yeah, she had been at LOA for 2 or 3 other companies.
Okay.
And so she knew the lingo. She's great at sales on the phone, and not having a teacher in Compass and how to do a 1003 was also a real a good point.
I'm real big on hiring experienced people, and now it's never been easier. So in your Russell, the office that you're in, are there other loan officers that work in the same office as you?
Yeah.
So my guess is you probably garnered a little bit of attention from them, going from like, a couple of deals per month up to 12 and 15 now. Is anybody else doing that in your office?
No.
Yeah. So you're number one. Right. I get, and dude, you're a humble guy, and I get all that, but the purpose of doing these interviews is to help inspire others, right?
Okay, I got something for you, man. So everyone in my office has been doing this 30 years. I've been doing it 5, and I got number 1 in the branch last month by easily $1 million on top of everybody. And yeah, it gets some attention. Not everyone's coming to pat you on the back, but we're friends, but we're also competitors.
No, I get it. So has anybody asked you, hey man, how you doing it?
Well, I think they hear through the wall so many phone calls I'm making, and then I'm first in the office, and usually last in the office to leave, and they hear us going back and forth. So they sense the energy, but they also don't have to. I mean, I guess when you do this long enough, you probably don't have to rely on making a bunch of phone calls. But that's
Oh,
that's where I'm at in
contraire,
my career.
brother. Contraire. No,
Hmm.
sir. I'm gonna, brother. I've been doing this a long time. If I'm not making my connections with people, it it doesn't work out well. So it's
Hmm.
that's yeah. I've always thought business is like an escalator. It's always moving in the direction of down. And if we don't take effort of stepping every day, taking steps. If anytime Carl thinks he's standing still, I'm not standing still. If I'm standing still, I'm telling you right now, I'm going backwards. It might not be going backwards super fast like it was early in my career, but trust me that you still have to you still have to stoke the fire. It's not gonna burn by itself. So I'm always amazed on how other people can see somebody being successful and not tapping into that resource saying, hey man, how'd you do it? And can you show me how?
Hmm.
I've always found that very interesting. Well, good for you, man. It's
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with enjoying that gold star, and my suspicion is you're not just inspiring people from outside your company. I bet you're a fair inspiration for the people in your company. So what's next, man? Where do we go from here?
I think right next, I need to complete my list on what activities I'm doing every day and shift as much of that to my assistant as possible.
Yeah,
Continue doing the daily success plan, making my weekly phone calls.
yeah,
And, right now I'm just believing in the system. And through the Thor's Hammers calls, I expect to pick up you know, at least one whale and a bunch of smaller fish
yeah,
using that. I'm already starting to feel good about the scripts and the calls I'm getting back and the coffees I'm having. It's,
yeah,
it's just waiting out that time because I'm really in the infancy of that part too.
yeah,
And so
yeah. Outstanding, man. So we're kind of coming up on the top of the hour here. Um, is there any like is there anything you're doing now that like you're like, man, I wish I'd have known this 5 years ago when I first got started? Is there anything you'd have done different?
I probably would have hired an assistant a lot earlier.
Yeah,
I would have started to work at a company that really pays the processing and underwriting team to
uh-huh.
where it's not a rotating table of people.
Yeah,
That has allowed me to grow my business a lot because I don't have to think about that. Um, and one big thing I picked up late late last year was I missed about 4 or 5 deals in a row because everyone was calling asking about interest rate.
hmm,
What's your rate? What's your rate? I didn't have a script ready for it. So I forget the name of the guy on your podcast, but he's like, this is what you say when someone calls about rate. Hey, what are you shopping for? Lowest rate? Are you aware the lowest rate comes with the highest cost? And just going rattling that off, I've saved so many deals using that one script, and I've been able to retain, even leads from them because they're not getting that service anywhere. I'm not wasting a lot of time on them, but I'm giving myself a fighting chance
yeah.
of keeping that deal.
Yeah, that's that silver tongued rascal Steve Kiles. He's a silver tongued rascal, that's for sure. What I think one of the best things he's taught me. I've learned a lot from him, like a whole lot. I think one of the better scripts that I've learned that's helped me out a lot is where he talks about giving them the rate range. When somebody asks what the rate is, he quotes the rate range, and the rate range basically is the range between quoting 2 points, what's your rate with that, and then par, what's your rate with no points,
Mhm.
if available. And given that rate range has been something helpful for us. So cool, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
I've generally been able to kick that conversation down the road, and I say, look, when you bring a contract in, we'll go over the numbers because the numbers are changing daily. And
yeah,
what that does, it allows them to get in front of me when they're excited.
Yeah.
and then I can lock them at a rate, and then rate shopping really goes out of the window most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%. Well, brother, is there something I should have asked you today that I didn't ask you?
No, not really. I just want to say, like, when I started this, the daily success plan, I don't remember it being a thing like 5 years ago. It might have been, but I just listened to your podcast religiously for 5 years, and I picked up tricks. I picked up scripts. I've constantly had to pivot with it being a refi market and no refi market and rates going up and down. And there's always been one little nugget of information that I've listened to and added to my business almost immediately from your podcast. It's helped me get through and kind of remain a really good producer in my area for being, in the business not too long. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be on here, and thank you for the material you put out there.
Brother, you're absolutely welcome. Hey, I'm going to ask you a personal question if you don't mind. Do you have a spouse by chance?
No.
My man. So you're an eligible bachelor raking in some serious jack, closing 12 to 15 loans a month. So we're just kind of putting that word out there that we have a available. What was that show a couple years back? Who Wants to Marry a Millionaire? Something like that. So, has your any family members or friends? That's kind of where I was going with that question. Is like any family members, friends, see what's happening to you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Everyone's kind of seen been a little bit of a lifestyle change.
Yeah, that to me, that's one of the, I don't know, maybe that's just my own shallowness or something, but I think it's cool. Like when my family or my real close friends, getting a pat on the back from them, go, man, they've seen me go through some hard times, some real hard times. Yeah. It's been a while, to be perfectly transparent, but I went through some really hard times early on. And, it's kind of nice when they, say, hey, Uncle Carl's a success story in the family. And I don't know. I just always kind of, I think I had such a close relationship with my uncle that now that I'm my nieces and nephews' uncle, it's kind of nice to show them that, hey, nice guys sometimes win, and Russell, you're a prime example of that. So good for you, brother.
Thanks,
hey, well,
Carl.
Congratulations on all your success, and thanks for helping me inspire others today, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay, man. Thanks a lot,
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, take it easy.
All right, good stuff, Russell. Hey, if you want to, if you're hearing about us talking about the theme days and exactly what does that look like and who do we call and what do we say on those calls that give us our best results that, help Russell go from 3 to 12 or 3 to 15, which is just an outstanding numbers on that, Russell. We'd love to walk you through it. There's no cost to it whatsoever. If you go to freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, just go in there, answer a couple questions so we can best prepare for the call. And then we'll walk you through the different scripts. So once you answer that questions, it'll take you to a calendar. You pick a time and day that works for you. And we would love to walk you through that and just show you exactly how those theme days work, just like what Russell's working on. So love to see you on there. Again, there's no charge for this whatsoever. freedomclubdemo.com. It's exact same. We'll show you what exact coaching call with our top loan officers looks like. So, all right, I think that's about it. So, Russ, again, thanks so much for being here. Listeners, thank you so much for letting us be a part of your day and allowing Russell and myself to enter into your as you're driving down the road or walking the dog around the neighborhood, perhaps. Maybe you're out on that treadmill this morning. Either way, we really appreciate you letting us be part of your day. Thank you so much for those reviews, and we'll talk to you when you call in. Bye-bye, everybody.